and welcome to Health and Wellbeing. I am Lois Atpasambu. There is a popular phrase which says, you are what you eat. This means that it is important to eat good food in order to be healthy and fit. Developing a healthy relationship with food and the body is a key component of achieving overall wellness. Today on Health and Wellbeing, we will be discussing healthy eating and body image with dietitian Rosevalene Uzoma Obia. Rosevalene, you are welcome.
Thank you very much.
It's nice having you on Health and Wellbeing. So I'd like you to introduce yourself better.
Okay, dietitian Miss Rosevalene Uzoma Obia, and I'm the CEO of Rosy Creative Minds Consult. I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist.
Okay. So basically today we will be talking about our eating habits and how it affects our body. We will continue with our discussion when we come back from this short break. Do stay with us. You're welcome back, and thank you for staying with us on Health and Wellbeing. A lot of people don't realize that what they consume can directly reflect on the internal and external health. How does what we consume affect our internal or external health? This is because we consume food. Food is a life resource, and it is important to consume food every day. Now, dietitian Rosevalene, how does what we eat affect our overall well-being?
All right, I say something before I talk about nutrition. I say deficiency. Now, what is a deficiency? Deficiency is a lack of one or more nutrients. Now, we say the nutrients are those chemical substances. They could be harmful, they could be healthy to the body. You take into your body. Your ability to understand which nutrients are essential to the body makes you healthy. And inappropriate consumption of those nutrients make you unhealthy. And they are the micro and the macro. We have the macro, which are the energy givers, the carbohydrate, the fat, the protein. And we have the micro, the vitamins, minerals, not excluding water because it's very important. So if you have these 6 classes of food, you're very, very, very good with your essential nutrients. But inability to have them, you are tending to drop the immune system, and that is where you have your deficiency. And you say it's affecting both the internal and the external health of one.
So basically, you mean what we eat now determines how how good our immune system is.
Sure.
Wow, that's nice. Now, like I said earlier, how does it affect us? Right? Like what we eat. In the morning you take breakfast, you take lunch, you take dinner. How does it affect us? Because we see so many people say they skip breakfast, some people say they skip lunch, and some skip dinner, 1 or 2 things like that. How does that affect the well-being of our body?
Okay, the truth is, there's not, when you say eating, we talk about healthy eating, right? And that is what I defined earlier, that is the adequate nutrition. And I said your ability to consume the macro, picking from the macro and the micro. Now, as dietitians, we have what we call the food groups. And the food groups is, we term them according to what the nutrition properties in each essential nutrient has. We have the cereals and grains, we have the roots, tubers, we have the legumes, we have the vegetables, fruits, we have the milk products, we have the meat and meat products. Now, in all these food groups, they have seen that from your cereals group, we have our usual staple foods like corn, and in corn, we have our carbohydrates, right? And aside carbohydrates, we have the simple carbohydrates, we have the polysaccharides. In the polysaccharides, we have the cellulose and the hemicellulose, which is the dietary fiber itself, where you have your vegetables. So you don't say you're going to get your green leafy vegetables from elsewhere, but you can see them in your carbohydrate-rich food. Then we also have our protein. Right? In protein, you have the essential and the non-essential, those that can be synthesized by the body and those that cannot be synthesized by the body. Same with the fats. We have the simple fats, we have the compound fats, and the rest of them. So in the simple and the compound form, you have the glycerols themselves, where you have the cholesterol, where you have the triglyceride, the saturated and the unsaturated, they are all embedded in the fat. Vitamins, we have the water-soluble and the fat-soluble vitamins, the vitamin A, and D and E and K, the B and C, the water-soluble vitamins. So ability to know what these nutrients contain, their functions in the body. Because we say when we take food, they either give us energy, they help to regulate the body processes, like when you're sleeping, when you're breathing, respiration, circulation, you know, all those processes that happen in the body, they help to maintain them. They regulate our body temperature as well. So all of those functions. Now, inability to consume them aright now brings what we call the eating disorder. You have a lot of people who have eating disorder. A lot of people say it's an abnormal way of eating. Now, it's different from, say, how I chew food. Theirs is completely different. That one is food habits on its own, factors that inhibit nutrition. Now, eating disorder is simply the way your eating pattern has changed as an individual. Like we have the anorexia nervosa, those people who are tending not to take heavy meals because they are after their weight. At the same time, they go starving, right? And when they starve, they practice what we call a bad food habit called binging. They eat larger than they should be eating at a period of time. And doing that, they tend to be overweight. That's the body is taking beyond, because we want a situation where what you take in is what you're going to be expending. There is an imbalance. Now, energy output and energy intake, they are not in equilibrium. Now, that is where the body tends to have so much in the adipose tissues as the fat in excess. But where the person is playing right, you see that that has kind of reduced this electrolyte imbalance that can occur. It can kind of reduce this poor nutritional state, that is the overweight, underweight, or malnutrition. But we also have another set of wrong eating habits, which is the bulimics, that's the bulimia nervosa. Bulimia nervosa is where people now, they are eating big, right? But they don't know they are eating big because they feel they are dieting. Those are the ketos. Now, keto people will say, I'm taking ketogenic diet and I want to cut down. And I tell them, do you know the composed of, or this is ketogenic diet, what is it composed of? Ketogenic diet is composed of, you say, high protein, you know, it has less
carbohydrates,
right?
Yes.
High fat, and a little or no fiber. And then you forget that we need those dietary fibers, in as much as they are insoluble to the body, we need them to help us push down our excretes from the body. Because when they stock up, they end up overloading the kidney. So these kind of people now, they want to do keto. And at the end of the day, the protein itself, you know, once the protein and the fats are in excess, they have, you know, suppressed the carbohydrate from playing its role. In such a way, the person is prone to these fatty acids and the protein itself convert to cause what they call ketoacidosis in the body. That's how you have, you know, the swellings, and the person is having this excess urination, the person is having, you know, all this fluid in the body and the rest of them. And that is very dangerous to the health. In such a way, you tell such people, if you say you're dieting, what do you think you know about dieting, and how are you doing it right? Because even in your protein foods, like we dietitian nutritionists, we monitor, we weigh, we quantify. We tell you how you take this. Even if you're taking each food source from each food group, they have their quantified weight. So if your inability to know that has shaping you to be same with somebody who is eating heavy.
Now, when you just said this thing about keto, it explained a lot to me. Because I have people around me that go on this keto diet, but they still keep adding weight. And I wonder what's happening. You said you're on a diet, you don't eat carbohydrate, because you know, most people that want to lose weight, they say it's excess carbohydrate, so you have to cut down on carbohydrates, you have to do this, you have to do that, make sure you take only protein and high fat, because it's easier to burn one thing or the other. And then, but they still keep adding weight, or if it's not bad, at least they don't just lose the weight, they adjust the way they are. And I wonder what is wrong with it, but this explains it better. Now, there are other forms of dieting as well that, apart from keto, I'd like you to list some for us and then probably explain it and explain their pros and cons. And I'd also like you to explain the pros of keto dieting as well, so people understand the pros of keto dieting and the cons of keto dieting alongside other diets.
There are so many diets. And then the major one I always recommend is just like we say, the adequate nutrition itself. Then when it comes to situations where you'll be placed on special diet, we have the renal diet, we have the DASH diet, we have the Atkins diet. Now there's this ancient diet, the caveman diet, we call the paleo diet. But then you said the ancient man had this diet because of what he was able to access. Now Atkins, they had to resolve that, oh, this thing was, they were used on children with epilepsy and all. You know, most of these things are tried on people. You know, when they try them on people, they find results and see reasons they use that as a curative to curtail that particular ailment. So that should be a case that will warrant a special diet. But in situations where you don't need special diets, like you have the DASH diet that is for the hypertensive patients, dietary approach to stopping hypertension. Now, if you're not hypertensive, you don't go for a DASH diet, right? If you're not down with any kidney issues, you don't go for a renal diet, because there's some things that you need to resist, you need to restrict, you need to avoid. You know, there are don'ts and do's. But generally now we say, like you have your carbohydrate foods. I explained earlier. We say don't eat carbohydrate foods, they are this, they are that. Now, know what type of carbohydrate you're going for. Like I explained, the monosaccharides. The monosaccharides are the simple sugar, simply your glucose. We also have fructose. Fructose is what you get from the fruits, right? Then we have our polysaccharides. We have our disaccharides, that's double carbon, and the rest of them. The double carbons have the galactose, you have the maltose. Then we have the poly, where you say you have dietary fiber. Dietary fiber is what plays the same role as what you see in your green leafy vegetable. Example, you have your potatoes, right? The potatoes, you have your pap. That's the corn. It's when it's being processed right. Those fibers that come from it, they are good for the health, and they are rich in potassium as well. So where we are saying we don't want to go for our vegetables, we can also get them from our carbohydrate food. Then for those who say they want to resist taking protein, carbohydrate food, they want to go for protein foods. Now I'll give an instance. In beans, beans has an amount of carbohydrate in it, but a lot of people don't know. There is this quantified amount that is very obvious, because one thing with our nutrients is there are some the body uses that's for human, and there are some that are healthy for plants. Now in beans, there is the unhealthy carbohydrate that they call raffinose and starches. That unhealthy carbohydrate is what the plant uses. Now inability to process that carbohydrate. Now the body finds it difficult to solidify that carbohydrate in the body. The thing is not digestible enough. And because it's releasing that slowly in the blood, you see that the person is beginning to have burning sensation when the thing is very fast, like, or you're having flatulence, which is the passing out of many things. Do you understand? Because of that particular carbohydrate now is not good for the health. It is for plants. But we don't know, it is also in the vegetable. So that's why people say, whenever I take my vegetable, I am using the white man. Whenever I'm taking my beans, I am using the white man. That is because that particular carbohydrate is playing its role. So what you think you're escaping from your carbohydrate food, you also get it with protein. Because these food sources are interchanged. Like you have in your egg, you say, I don't want to eat egg. Egg is cholesterol. You will now lose sodium. You will now lose calcium. These are all good sources that you can get from your egg, right? Because if you say you don't want to take salt, test your egg white. It's salty.
That's true.
It's true. It's salty, right? That is sodium that comes from it, because it's high in what they say is Englishman. Let's not be using too much English. Ammonia, right? It's high in albumin. That's what it's rich in. It plays similar roles to that sodium-rich food. Sodium-rich food, it helps to stabilize the fluid in the body, right? And that is the same thing that potassium does. But the difference is that this one balances the osmotic level in the body. Now, that is for that. And I say, okay, I don't want to be taking, I don't want to take Irish potato, I don't want to take sweet potato. Sweet potato is also a complex carbohydrate. But the thing is, what we say is, if you're taking your carbohydrate foods at what amount, that's why you needed, seriously, to meet a registered dietitian nutritionist to coach you and guide you right, and teach you what to take. And that's where we now come with what we do personally. We now go, okay, this is the food list now. We use our exchange, but I can't start saying that now, because that is where there's a list of food. Now, those lists of food in their specified amounts. Now, this food now have, oh, rice has so amount. I'll eat it. What does so amount quantify? Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? I know you want me to do something.
I'm going to ask you. Okay, so basically, we have one of the major things we have is so many people have issues with their weight.
Yeah.
And then that is most times where they now resort to dieting. And then sometimes even starving. So many things that people actually do just to make sure that they lose weight. And over time, I found out that it doesn't just boil down to what you eat. What you eat matters as well, but it doesn't just boil down to that. There are other things that relate to it, and there are other things that you have to put together to make sure that you're able to, if there is probably a body goal you want, you are able to achieve that body goal. We're going to talk about this when we come back from this short break. Do stay with us, and when we come back, our discussion will continue. Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. Before we went on the break, we were talking about different types of diets, their pros and their cons, and why you don't have to boycott eating certain foods because you want to lose weight. So now, before we went on the break, I said we were going to talk about what it entails in order to lose weight. Yes, we know that there are certain times that we have to watch out what we eat, but what do we need to put in place to make sure that we are able to maintain our weight or probably lose weight in cases of people that are a little bit obese?
The first thing is, we always say dietary management is individualized. We can't use what A has done for B, and you can't use what C has done for D. Now, there are so many things you need to consider when you meet with these people. Like, we have our own dietary approaches to it. And the key things I will just spell out is we ask you, we try to find out so many things that happen within your home, trying to know the food habits of your family members, trying to know if you are that type that skips meal. You know, we are Nigerians. We have this, you want to go out and make the millions and you're forgetting you're going to take food. And at the next minute, you're going for empty calories. Remember that our carbonated foods and confectionaries are empty. And when they are empty, they tend to increase our appetite for more food. Now, those things can also boil down to one being overweight, right? So, and we also want to curtail how do you prepare your meals, because another thing that makes us increase our calories, energy intake, is what we use in preparing our meals. You know, we want to make the food very rich, different animals from different seas. You know? Different. The foods you are seeing, they are dancing and all, but there are some meals, there are some meats we prescribe to people, especially those ones that are cushioned with fats. You know, like the ram meat, we say some of the shaki, you know, and the rest of them. They are all embedded with fats, and that fat protects those, you know, what fat does is it protects us from physical harm, right? So that is what it does to those animals as well. But when we take it into our body, it's no longer healthy because they have to pass through some processes, industrial processes. At the end of the day, they become harmful because they introduce harmful metals into the body, right? So those ones are not there. And another thing is, when we do that, we also tell you, we watch out for how you process your foods as well, right? How do you process these foods? They can also increase what you do as an individual. How do you process them? Then we run down parameters like we check your BMI, you know, want to know. Then you know, when we do BMI, people think it boils down to just BMI, the usual weight parameter for weight and height. It doesn't just end there. A lot of women, a lot of people now are boiling down to the abdominal obesity, and we try to check that as well, because that's the region where you have the sensitive organs. So we do that a whole lot. Then we try also, we say, okay, when we've done that, we try our own consultations, and we intervene by giving our own solutions. What do we need to do to this person? You start with telling the person the need for you to live healthy. First of all, you start with you believing in yourself first, giving you a reason for you to know that the fact that you are overweight does not mean the end of, because overweight, it depends on what you define as overweight. There's some people who are large framed, and there's some people who are small framed, right? Some weights are just the fatty tissues, like the adipose tissues that are making up the body fat, and some are the lean muscle mass, which is even the heavier one. You have the muscles making up this, and you have the blood, you have the tissues, a lot of things embedded in this one, plus weight. So those ones are the, how will I use the native word, that would be they are the muscular people, right?
Yes.
So those ones are those ones are the people who are even heavier, because they find it difficult to come down, right? So the first thing first is diet, right? Correct the wrong food habits you've started already. If you know those wrong food habits that you've been doing, correct them. Be sure that you're meeting with your dietitian to put you through the right foods and at the right time. At what time do you take your meals? We consider that. We always say, earlier we give time, 7 to 8, 12 to 1, that time. The reason is so that the digestion process can continue. Then if you have reasons to eat within those time, it's not bad, especially for those who are on medication. What you now do is you tell them the healthier snacks to take. But high fiber diet is highly recommended, so that if we don't know what the body is storing, because it's one thing for the body to expend what it will expend, another thing for us to take in, we don't know what the energy stores is. We don't know what has been stored in the body. So that energy stores can also be eliminated if we take a high fiber diet. They can help to refreshing the body and make it ready for a new set. Then our usual, we encourage within us now, COVID-19, indoor exercises. Don't wait for when you go to the stadium. Right? Things that will bond the family together, things that will make them, know themselves, little dancings and all, right? And avoid stress. Stress inhibits nutrition and alters it a whole lot. Because once you're stressed up, there is nothing. When there's oxidative, there's nothing nutrition that will enter your head. What you'll be remembering is
yeah, and I think that explains a lot, because you see, most times people that are overweight are so stressed about it, and then no matter what they do, they don't still come down. They're almost, sometimes it's almost like they're just increasing more and more. They don't even, they go on rigorous exercises every day. They starve themselves, but they still don't lose weight, and you wonder what's wrong. But now he explains that stress has a lot to do with your weight and with the way you look. Thank you very much, Dietitian Rosevalene, for being here with us. And
thank you so much.
We do hope that next time when you call us, you will take time out to be here with us.
Wait. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Well, that is all we can take on health and well-being today. Do remember that you need to take a balanced diet to have a fit body. Do not cut out on any food types of food diet just because you want to lose weight, but a balanced diet will go a long way. Do remember to keep it to date with us same time next week. I am Lois Akpasambo. Do stay safe.